We're in Toronto, Canada. Game number 2 between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Toronto Blue Jays as interleague play continues tonight. He's a former first-round draft pick of the Blue Jays, and for the first time in his career, Chris Carpenter will face his former team, the Toronto Blue Jays.
It's always interesting when a guy starts out with an organization, is traded or signs as a free agent and then comes back. Chris Carpenter is going to make that first start against your old teammate. It's got to be interesting for you.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling coming back here. Spent a long time here in this organization, and but again, it's you try to treat it like another day and go out and compete and try to give your team a chance to win.
But I also think as you with a dominant sinker or a ground ball specialist, it's reassuring to know that you get real true hops.
Oh, absolutely. This was a good place to pitch. You know that you're going to get that sure hop. There was a few balls that probably found the hole a little faster than they were supposed to because it wasn't grass, but it's a nice place to pitch.
Chris Carpenter, have fun.
I will, thank you.
Chris Carpenter looking for victory number 9 here tonight from Rogers Center in Toronto. More coming up. This is Cardinals baseball on FSN.
You're watching FSN Midwest, where Cardinals fans come first.
Back in Toronto and Rogers Center, the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, as the Cardinals and Blue Jays are playing game number 2 of their 3-game set tonight. The Jack in the Box NL Central standings. The Cards lead it by 6.5 games over the Cubs. They'll play host to Florida tonight at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Only one other team has a better record than Tony La Russa's in Major League Baseball. That's the Chicago White Sox. Scott Seabold and the Cardinals playing game number 2 tonight. It's Chris Carpenter on the mound. Carpenter looking for victory number 9. The starting lineups and our first pitch is up next on FSN Midwest. Cardinal baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. This is your beer. By Auto Tire. For straight talk and great service, you ought to go to Auto Tire. By Steak and Shake. Real steak burgers and real milkshakes. Served 24 hours a day at Steak and Shake. And by Southwest Airlines. Friendly nonstop service all across the country. Southwest Airlines, a symbol of freedom. Fans are still filing in to Rogers Center, the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, formerly known as the Sky Dome. We had 20,000 here last night. Expecting about that here tonight. And let's meet Tony La Russa's lineup this evening. Cardinals as a team hitting .269. The Southwest Airlines starting lineup. David Eckstein will lead it off, followed by the switch hitting Abraham Nunez, with Scott Rowland expected to join the team this Thursday in Tampa. Then it's Albert Pujols here in the first. The cleanup man, the designated hitter tonight, Larry Walker. Reggie Sanders, Mark Grudzielanek, John Mabry's in right tonight. He played left last night. It'll be So Taguchi in center field. And once again, Yadier Molina is behind the plate. He'll bat 9th for St. Louis. Chad Godin is the pitcher. His numbers brought to you by Advance Auto Parts for Toronto. 9 career starts. He spent a couple of years with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and the Blue Jays picked him up this offseason.
Yeah, he's only 22 years of age, and he had won his Blue Jay debut against Seattle, but he got roughed up big time by Oakland, and this is the first time he's pitched in this ballpark this season. He had one of his worst outings as a member of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays right here, where he lasted 2/3 of an inning as a starter.
Auto tire around the horn. There's Frank Catalanato, the left fielder for the Blue Jays. Vernon Wells, a Gold Glover in 2004. He'll patrol center. Reed Johnson is in right. Then Shea Hildenbrand, Russ Adams, Orlando Hudson, Eric Hinsky on the infield, and Greg Zahn is behind the plate. Look at Tony La Russa, 3 wins shy of moving into 4th place all time in the history of baseball as far as wins are concerned, in his 28th season. And in his first season with the Toronto Blue Jays, there he is with the pullover, John Gibbons. 10 games below the 500 mark. He was the interim manager at the end of last season and got the full-time job at the beginning of this year.
Ball club, the Blue Jays are a 500 team with their victory last night, and Holiday won his 10th ball game, but they say it's a different ball game when you have anybody else starting other than Holiday, and the team kind of doesn't play up to that same skill level.
It's a team that the Blue Jays see themselves only 5.5 games back in the American League East. No one is running away with that division. They're back to 500 with the win last night at 32-32. 1 ball, 1 strike on the Cardinal leadoff man, David Eckstein. It seems like when he gets going, his hits come in bunches, as Roy Halladay saw Eckstein reach base 3 times last night. Reaches out on that breaking ball, then bounces it back to the pitcher for the first out. That's how we start the game.
Chad Godin feels a little better right now. Interesting, you have an artificial turf here. But talking with the Cardinals, they feel it actually plays slower than Busch Stadium.
And one of the reasons why is that when you look at this new type of turf, it's not that traditional AstroTurf anymore. It's field turf, and they've got that graded tire inside the turf, so they can pick this thing up, move it around. They've got all kinds of different events that come into this building, whether it be professional football or baseball. That's a fair ball down the third base line, over to get it. Catalanato. Nunez is going to test him on his way to second. He is out at second. Bang bang play out there at second base, and the throw is right on the mark.
That'll pick up your pitcher. His ball just inside third base bag, and Catalanato got over there, and he fouls a strike to his shortstop covering and slides right into the tag. So he puts the glove down, and then the foot comes right in behind it.
Great camera work out there too.
Outstanding.
Pujols is hit by a pitch, and then that caught Greg Zahn, and he glares out at Godin. Now remember, it was Shea Hildenbrand that was hit by a pitch last night. So how much does that carry over here to game number 2?
Well, where's the warning? Everyone was surprised when the warning was issued in yesterday's ball game. Albert has gone hitless in 3 straight starts. He was 0 for his last 11. So don't wake him up. You're asking for trouble. And last night was the first time this season on a road game he did not at least reach base.
Now it's Larry Walker. 2 outs. Pujols at first. We've seen a lot of that with Larry Walker this year. Fastballs inside. Teams are just busting him in.
Now when you get older and your bat gets slower, that's the place to exploit it.
The age of 38, still playing Major League Baseball, and he crushes this one into center field. Wells going back, and it's gone. Larry Walker, in what very well could be his final 2 games here in Canada, goes deep. And it's 2-0 Cardinals.
Not smart to wake up this team. And this is the first career hit at this stadium for Larry Walker. Isn't that incredible? He had been 0 for 10, and now he hits his 6th home run, and he earned it to dead center field. Most hits, most home runs, most RBIs by a Canadian-born player. And saw he expose him in, but you get the ball out of the way and not far enough, he'll show you why he's one of the greatest ever.
That's career home run number 374 for Walker. And career numbers as far as RBIs are concerned, 1,284 now. As you mentioned, Al, the leader among players born in Canada. Had a .312 lifetime batting average coming into play tonight. And Reggie Sanders hits this one high in the air, deep left field, has a chance. Catalinato back, and the Cardinals have gone back-to-back. And it's 3-0 St. Louis. Reggie Sanders with home run number 13, RBI number 31. The Cardinal fans like it here in Toronto. And how about that? Godin hits Albert Pujols, and the Cardinals answer with back-to-back home runs.
Don't wake up Albert, and definitely don't wake up your teammates. Fastball, but he misses location, and Reggie was waiting for it. Kind of runs in, but it was up and turns on it.
Boy, he hit that a mile high, too.
He really did. It was just a high towering fly ball, and you knew he hit it well. It's Reggie's 13th home run. He has 10 stolen bases to lead the team also in his quest for a 30-30 season.
Here's Mark Grudzielanek.
He put together last outing and tonight, but this was, you can see how tough it's been. 7 earned runs. That's the most by any Blue Jay starter this year, and he allowed it in just 1 inning to work.
Curveball upstairs to Grudzielanek. 1 ball, 1 strike. You were reeling off some of those numbers for Reggie Sanders. And boy, he's putting together a nice year. He's second on the club in home runs. He's second, or rather third in RBIs. He leads the team with 10 stolen bases.
He had a 5-game hitting streak snapped on Sunday. Did not play last night, but over 400 in his last 8 starts.
Cardinals have gone back-to-back. The first one was Larry Walker. The second one, that man, Reggie Sanders. So Walker and Sanders go back-to-back.
And boy, isn't that reassuring for Carpenter. Before he even takes the mound, he's got a nice 3-0 lead, and see if they can add to it.
Ground ball hit to the second baseman, Orlando Hudson. Well, for the Blue Jays, it's the 4th time this season they have given up back-to-back home runs. For Walker, a 2-run shot, number 6 to dead center field. Then a high towering blast from Reggie. His 13th. 3-0 St. Louis. 3-0 Cardinals. Chris Carpenter on the mound for St. Louis as we move to the bottom of the first. And the first man that Carp will see is Reed Johnson, the right fielder tonight. 9 of his last 19 hits have gone for extra bases, and that was the case last night early on against Jeff Suppan. The extra base hits. The numbers on Carpenter, brought to you by Rico. A record of 8-4. As we talked about during the pregame show, on the road, Carpenter is 4-0.
Good ERA too, 2.41.
Backing up Nunez at third, over to Pujols for the first out. Let's take a look at this lineup, and as a team, the Blue Jays are hitting .261. This is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Johnson, Catalinato, and Wells here in the first. Shea Hildenbrand, who went deep last night, is the cleanup man. Eric Hinsky, Aaron Hill, Greg Zahn, Orlando Hudson, and Russ Adams batting ninth. The Southwest Airlines starting lineup. Here's Catalinato, and a fastball that is strike. 10th round pick back in 1992 by Detroit. He's been with the Tigers, Texas, and now his 3rd season north of the border with the Blue Jays. Ball's behind here, 0-2.
Had some success against Carpenter as he's 5 for 8.
It's interesting that you said how some of the Cardinals felt that this is a slow infield. Catalinato is one of those guys that is on record as saying he enjoys playing on artificial turf, as Molina will give it a look. About 3 rows deep. And he likes it because singles sometimes turn into doubles, doubles into triples. The Ford Key matchup against Chris Carpenter, Catalinato, and Shea Hildenbrand. Numbers 2 and 4 in this lineup have had very good success.
Zahn has only had 1 at bat against him. He's 0 for 1. Everyone else will be their first time facing Chris.
And this is the first time that Chris Carpenter is faced his former team. And you know, emotions are high for Carpenter. He was surprised back in 2002 when the Blue Jays, when he was hurt, offered him a minor league deal. He said no thanks. He became a free agent, and the Cardinals gave him all the leeway that he wanted to get himself healthy. It was a chance, it was a risk, and it paid off.
And Chris, the way they treated him last year when he had that nerve irritation, didn't rush him back, even though they were in the playoffs. They were more concerned about his overall health and longevity. He was more than happy to sign a 2-year extension.
A strikeout of Catalinato he couldn't hold up. Defense by Chris Carpenter tonight. Around the Horn brought to you by Auto Tire. Reggie Sanders, Sho Taguchi, and John Mabry in the outfield. Abraham Nunez at third. David Eckstein at short. Kurt Zelanek is the second baseman. Albert Pujols at first. And the workhorse behind the plate. When's this guy going to get a day off? It's Yadier Molina. And there's Jim Edmonds. If you missed it on the pregame show, he said it's difficult for him to do anything right now. Running, throwing, even breathing. He said his side is hurting so badly. Hurt that side in the game on Wednesday night against Boston on a diving play.
Described as a contusion and not as serious as a oblique muscle strain. So hopefully you're in a position where you can win here tonight, win tomorrow, win this series. Cardinals have won or 6-0-1 in their last 7 series. Even if you have to rest him in Tampa Bay, we should be a superior ball club.
Chop foul. Edmonds was actually examined prior to the game last night at a nearby hospital after he pulled himself out of the lineup. And he said it just got progressively worse over the week. 2-run double though on Sunday against the Yankees helped out. Could not go last night. The 1-2 pitch. Low and in, 2-2.
So the latest is on Scott Rowland. Had a real good workout yesterday, but reported some stiffness and soreness today. And they're really not sure whether he will join the club in Tampa Bay or not. It's kind of a day-to-day thing.
2 strikeouts in the inning. Good start for Carpenter. 3-0 Cards. Time to flash back on FSN Midwest, brought to you by Schnucks. Jim Maloney allows no hits and strikes out 18 through 10 innings. In the 11th, Johnny Lewis hits a home run to give Maloney the loss. Our Schnucks at this date in baseball history.
Maloney, a hard thrower. He was in spring training, I know, 1 year with the Cardinals. Quite a character. Had almost 6,000 people there. See, Maloney took the loss, going 11 innings. And Larry Bernard, the Bear, got the win in that ball game. So that had to be against the Mets. And then Larry Bernard became a pitching coach for the Expos for many, many years.
One of 10 players in Major League history to lose a no-hitter in extra innings, as he finished his career with California in the American League, but the majority of his career, all of it, was with Cincinnati. Here's John Mabry, homered last night. A swing and a miss and a strikeout to start the top of the second.
Godin, looks like his best pitch is the slider, and I feel that he does not have command of his fastball. He will make mistakes with it. He's got a 2 and a 4-seamer, working on a changeup.
Here's Sho Taguchi, tonight's center fielder for the Cardinals. Average at .229 with a pair of home runs and 11 RBIs. Godin was a 34th round selection by Tampa Bay. He's from New Orleans. He passed up a scholarship from LSU. And in the minor leagues, he actually pitched a perfect game in the Southern League.
You can see that he's listed at 5'11", 165. And because of that size, it probably knocked him down several rounds.
I always think it's fun to find out when some of these players, at least position-wise, where they were drafted, because it's just such an inexact science. You just don't know how guys will mature, what will happen along the way.
You can look at physical talent, but it's hard to study heart.
Taguchi lines it into center field for a 1-out base hit. Perfect example of that is Albert Pujols, a 13th round pick. Now he's the best hitter in baseball, arguably.
And really, I mean, you know, because you go in reverse order, it's really not that tough to scout the first in the first round. You know, everybody pretty much knows who's the best and filter on down to 30 picks. But how many organizations get rewarded for those picks that are like in the 30th, 40th, 50th rounds? That's where you got to, you know, you got to have some of that magic.
One of the biggest factors now with baseball is signability with any of these guys. Are they represented by a Scott Boras type?
And that's what's wrong, you know, and until you get that corrected, because the way the system is the worst teams get the first picks. And, you know, now you negate that advantage to the bottom feeders if you can't sign guys. You know, if you sit there and have to go back to signability, how's that going to improve their ball club by getting the best athlete or the guy that's closest to the big leagues, because they don't have the money?
I think another factor too, and baseball is going to take a look at this, Al, as Molina evens up the count with a ball and a strike, are those sandwich picks that you get from the signings of free agents, where the Yankees can go out and spend a ton of money, lose some people, but replace them with free agents, and yet get those draft picks, the 30th, 40th overall, as Taguchi is back in safely.
I think that his body stopped that ball right there, and he got drilled very quick. So we have to keep an eye on this young pitcher, because he had Taguchi picked off, and you know how fundamentally sound he is, but the throw, I think, drilled him in the ribs or in the back, maybe the elbow.
Barry Weinberg's going to brush him off and help him out. He's going to be all right.
Nice going, Barry. Really made him feel better, didn't he?
Get the dirt off the uniform.
He eventually would have done that himself. Spit on it.
1 ball, 1 strike on Molina. Good lead at first by Taguchi. 1-2. Yadier Molina, 4th round pick back in 2000.
There's the change up there that he is working on. Don't quote me as to, you know, exactly where it's placed, but I mean, I think like Keith Hernandez was the 37th round. Bob Forrest, 3rd time on the All-Cardinal win list, was like in the 40th. Mike Piazza, 66, somewhere.
He's the best
there.
Example of any of that.
And I just saw someplace the other day. It must have been maybe when we were playing, but somebody we played against recently, they had a player in the big leagues on the team that was the highest draft pick ever. It was the 88th round.
Piazza was a favor for Tommy Lasorda. Molina with 2 strikes hits it into shallow right field, and the catch is made. The throw to first is tardy, and Taguchi is back safely. Nice play out there by Reed Johnson. Mike Piazza was the 1,390th pick overall, 62nd round back in 1988.
Okay, well, and what happened there was Tommy Lasorda was good friends with his father, and it came out that it was Piazza was his godson, but it's his brother that was godson. And so he talked to the Dodgers scouting director and said, you know, hey, I want you, what about this guy? I said, well, we've seen him, we don't like him. He goes, well, do me a favor, after you draft everybody that you like, draft him for me.
Take a chance.
Yeah, you know, in the 62nd round, I guess it really wasn't a chance, or much of one.
You know, Piazza started his career as a first baseman, and he started at Miami, playing for Ron Frazier, one of the all-time great college coaches.
And that, if you know Ron Frazier, you know, he was just a great how would you say it, he had an outstanding program, but he also was very charismatic and also had an outstanding way of bringing money into the program. And Piazza's father, very wealthy, and I'm sure it was almost like, I'll make this significant donation, my son comes along with it. And then he eventually went to Miami-Dade Junior College.
We talk about where guys are drafted and then making it to the major leagues. It's also where guys maybe start their careers position-wise. David Eckstein, a good example. He was a second baseman. That'll carry out to Vernon Wells, and he'll make the catch. Cardinals strand a man. 3-0 St. Louis as we head to the bottom of the second. June 26th, the Cardinals will take on the Pirates, and to commemorate the final season of Busch Stadium, the Redbirds and BJC Healthcare have teamed up to bring you the first 25,000 fans ages 16 and over, a specially designed cap that's featuring the final season logo. And for tickets, you can always log on to the Cardinals website at stlcardinals.com or give them a call tomorrow at 421-2400.
Quite a few Cardinal fans have made the trip up here.
This is a great town.
Yeah, including John Kastner and his family. I owe a big debt of gratitude to John and Kastner, who, along with a very talented and accommodating travel agent, got me on my flight yesterday, because there was a long line and I was way in the back.
Well, that's good to know.
You know,
you made it here.
As you couldn't go into an international flight, I couldn't use the computer screen.
Oh, okay.
So I was a little bit tardy. John helped me get there with plenty of time to spare for the plane that was late.
A ball and 2 strikes on Shea Hillenbrand outside from Carpenter.
Remember, Carpenter's had trouble with Hillenbrand, but his other nemesis, Catalanano, he struck out.
Carpenter looked sharp early on. He has struck out 3 of the first 4 he has seen. You can email us here in Toronto if you'd like. And here in the booth at foxsports.com on MSN, the keyword Cardinals booth. Always enjoy getting the emails throughout the game. Strikeout number 3. And it brings in Eric Hinske, who's hitting .259.
I remember one time it was supposed to be the big 3. For Toronto was going to be Carpenter, Escobar, and last night's starter, Halladay. And Halladay's the only one left. He's outstanding, but now they're seeing what Carpenter can do.
Escobar is on the disabled list with Anaheim. And for a while here in Toronto, he was their closer, then moved back into the starting rotation, signed as a free agent with Anaheim. And of course, Carpenter left in 2002. After that season was done, he was the Jays' opening day starter back in 2002 at Fenway Park, and he was hurt in that game. Toronto said goodbye to him. Cardinals scooped him up.
And the Cardinals very wise in knowing that they were going to get probably no return that first year, but a very economical contract for year 2. And now it's really paid off because he's agreed to a contract extension for a couple years with the Redbirds after this year.
Chris has talked about in his time here in Toronto, learning from guys like Woody Williams, Roger Clemens, Pat Henkin, David Wells. A swing and a miss. How sharp is Carpenter here tonight? He struck out 4 of the first 5 he has seen, and don't think for a second he doesn't have a little something extra for Toronto this evening.
Well, not only that, but he's got it under control. So adrenaline is a fantastic thing if you can channel it to use it to your benefit. Look at the 12-6 drop on that breaking ball. Bouncing up there, but getting a big league hitter.
Hinske wasn't even close. Missed it by a half foot. Here's the designated hitter, Aaron Hill. Batting .333. Good curveball again from Chris Carpenter.
It's a get-ahead breaking ball that he can change speeds on that. Later on in the count, he can make it a strikeout pitch by throwing it harder.
On-base percentage of .395 for Hill. And Carpenter working ahead in the count, 0-2.
Go back to Hinske's at bat and the curveball that strikes him out and gets away from him. Do you see where Albert's saying throw it into foul territory? Because he's in foul territory. Albert's going to receive the ball in foul territory.
That's 5 strikeouts tonight for Chris Carpenter. Yeah, I'd say he's pumped up tonight. 3-0 Cardinals after 2. Back in Toronto, we remind you, coming up later tonight, the Best Damn Sports Show period, the greatest nightly sports show on television with host Chris Rose and co-host John Sally, Rob Dibble, and Rodney Peep. Coming up tonight, following MSR. Nunez, Pujols, and Walker. Here in the third, a broken bat that's going to drop for a hit for Nunez. His second hit of the night. He's 2 for 2.
He put the reins on this time instead of running into an out at second.
Back in the first, he hit it down the third base line, and Catalinato, the left fielder, was very quick to get on it.
I didn't mind that.
trying to be aggressive and extend it to a double, and was thrown out.
And it took an exceptional play to throw him out, and they were equal to the task. But put pressure on, and like we said, don't wake up Albert. They hit him the first time up.
First pitch is a strike. I remember a couple years ago, the 4th of July, and Albert Pujols was knocked down by a Kerrywood fastball. Next pitch deposited into the center field seats.
His very first home run at the major league level was after a knockdown pitch.
1 ball, 1 strike on Albert. Talking about where he was drafted, 13th round, Wilfredo Pujols was taken with the 200th overall pick by the Cardinals. Another Pujols in the Cardinal system.
Albert told me that he's seen his cousin. You know, he worked out with him. He says he's a pretty good hitter. Pretty good size to him, like Albert. Just an inkling of his talent is good enough for me.
Yeah. That's a strike on the outside corner to Pujols. Albert is the leading vote getter in the National League.
I understand that Scott Rowland still leads at third base. Edmonds is still in the top 3.
2-2 pitch. Fouled back. You know, a guy that's got a chance to sneak in there with Nomar Garciaparra going down is David Eckstein.
He now trails his Turris of the Dodgers, but not by much.
I was talking with Tony La Russa prior to the game about the All-Star selections. 32 players on each side on the roster, and Tony was saying, hey, we're there to win it. After what we went through last year with the World Series and our accommodations in Boston, and that's not an excuse as to why they lost, but we get there, we want home field advantage. Pujols rips it off the glove of the third baseman to short, and they throw it away. Nunez on his way to third. He will stop right there. Pujols on his way to second. And with nobody out, in steps Larry Walker.
Trying to do too much, Adams, and
that's his 10th error. So he threw it away. He made an error last night on a throwing error.
Right. Smash here off the glove of third baseman. The shortstop got tangled up and should not have thrown that ball. When you're falling down, your feet are not under control. You know, more times than not, you're not going to make that good throw, and you got to sometimes just minimize the damage.
And already activity in the Blue Jays bullpen as Larry Walker will dig in. Got things started with a 2-run homer back in the first. Cardinals runs tonight scored with 2 outs. A constant theme, it seems like, here in 2005 and the better part of last season. The Cardinals capitalizing with 2 outs. 1-0 pitch to Larry. He's outside, and it's 2-0.
Hit a 2-run home run his first time up. They started him inside, then they went away, and eventually got a ball that he could reach away and drove it dead center field.
Chance to go hammering here on 2-0. Breaking ball and a strike. Walker signed with the Expos back in 1985 as a free agent. He's from Maple Ridge, BC. 6 years in Montreal, 10 in Colorado, and now in his second season with the St. Louis Cardinals. Couldn't pull the trigger on that one. 2-2.
Looking breaking ball, and he threw a fastball by him.
Such a tremendous career that Larry has had. 7 Gold Gloves, 3 batting championships, an MVP. Check swing. Held up, full count.
Got first base open. My guess would be the breaking ball, but
Walker trying to add to this 3-0 lead. They go inside, ball 4 to Walker. First walk handed out by Chad Godin. And now with the bases loaded, the batter will be Reggie Sanders. What's big news here in Canada and here in Toronto is Larry Walker. And don't forget to cut out the coupon in the Post-Dispatch for the final season pin collection. Tomorrow's featured pin is Larry Walker. But the articles here in Toronto and with their national paper concerning Larry and what he may do after this season. At the age of 38, he says Father Time is catching up. May retire. He says he will retire for certain if the Cardinals win the World Series. And he was rejuvenated at the end of last season, coming over to St. Louis. Packed house every night, playing in the World Series. He had 4 hits in Game 1 of the World Series. And now he stands at first with the bases loaded. And Reggie Sanders, who has a home run tonight, will dig in.
5 grand slams. He's hit grand slams for 4 different teams.
Are the Cardinals one of them?
Yep. Yeah, this year earlier, hit a grand slam. That was June the 4th at Houston, or against Houston.
Pitch in the dirt, blocked by Zahn. That was that most recent visit to Houston, that weekend series against the Astros.
Hit a fastball that was up and in for the home run. And here the first pitch was a slider that bounces up there, and Zahn, who a little on the slight built side for a catcher, but he's very mobile back there and bounces around.
Next pitch to Reggie. Strike on the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reggie has told me his goal this year, 30-30. Well, he's got 13 home runs and 10 stolen bases. Free agent after the season. He's 37, but he doesn't show his age one bit. Keeps himself in great shape.
Just like us.
You got it. Sanders in the hole now with a ball and 2 strikes.
Change up there, but sometimes getting to 2 strikes is easy, but can you put them away?
Reggie always steps out, gathers himself. Crowd comes alive, trying to help out the young right-hander, Chad Godin. On 1 and 2. Reggie strikes out. Strikeout number 2 this evening. And a double play, and the Blue Jays are out of this inning.
The breaking ball, slider, and in the zone, and he swings through it.
Inning started with back-to-back singles by Nunez and Pujols. A walk to Larry Walker. Loaded him up for Sanders. He strikes out. Now it's Gritsalanek with 1 out.
5-game hitting streak snapped last night.
Here's another one of those choices for Tony La Russa. Jeff Kent is going to win, it looks like, at second base for the All-Star game by the fans voting him in, but Gritsalanek has put together thus far an All-Star caliber season.
The problem is
how many Cardinals can you take?
Yeah, you can't have everybody that's deserving, as you still have to have a representative from every team.
And you just think about it, you got Marquis and Morris.
But I mean, you know, it's the interesting thing though is
Carpenter.
The guys that he does have, he might play them and keep them in there a lot longer than you normally would if you're playing for keeps.
Jason Isringhausen.
The Cardinals definitely will be well represented through the ballot box and through subsequent picks, and deservingly so.
Yep. Now they want to talk it over with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes on Gritsalonic.
But we got to tell the Cardinal fans to continue voting for their favorite Cardinal, as this long road trip will have a tough time on the ballot box, but I think we will get home for about the last 5 days of voting. So put your favorite vote in, and you can vote internet style too, can't you?
Sure can. 1-2. Breaking ball struck him out.
Left that in a dangerous place, but he throws him on the breaking ball.
Left it right over the middle of the plate. You can see Zahn setting up on the outside portion. That's hanging there.
Yeah, it just kind of hung right there, and he just couldn't pull the trigger.
And it's up to John Mabry. He struck out back in the second. A lot of times you'll see Mabry on that first pitch just go hack it.
They had a lefty warming up, Scott Downs, but with the 2 strikeouts, we'll see if this was a wise decision to let him face John.
Mabry last night with the home run. He ended the game with a hard hit ball to left. The start over the weekend against Randy Johnson on Saturday.
All 4 of his home runs have come on the road.
1-1 pitch. Mabry grounds it towards second. Cardinals had the bases loaded, nobody out, and do not get a run in. But this man is developing into a story tonight. Chris Carpenter in his return to Toronto. He has seen 6 hitters. He has struck out 5. Carpenter looks good tonight. He goes back to work when we go back from break. Here's Zahn, the switch hitting catcher for Toronto. 3-0 Cardinals as the Redbirds waste a golden opportunity with the bases loaded, nobody out, and do not score a run. Breaking ball misses inside as Carpenter checks on the mound.
Now see this, 2 innings, 5 consecutive strikeouts. The first man, Johnson, put the ball in play, bounced to third, and then Mr. K took over.
Fastball and a strike to Zahn, who's hitting .248.
Dan, a lot of times that pitcher, it's not good to watch what goes on offensively, because you start adding runs that don't materialize, and then you always set yourself up to be disappointed. So you just be thankful for what you have. You go out and pitch your game, and that game is to stop the opposition. Don't worry about how many runs or what your offense does for you.
Roy Halladay last night, his 5th complete game, and he talked about afterwards that in his mind he would rather have ground ball outs than strikeouts, because it keeps the pitch count low and it keeps him fresh.
And that's why he's been able to, record 5 complete games already. But he was very, very impressive.
Full count here on Zahn. And a foul ball. Carpenter got the first man, Reed Johnson, to bounce to Abraham Nunez at third. Then it was a strikeout of Catalinato, Wells, Hillenbrand, Hinsky, and Aaron Hill.
Seen strike out 12 this season. I think that's his career high. He tied it.
3-2 pitch and a leadoff walk. Cardinal baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. We're ready in advance. By Aflac. Ask about it at work. And by Rico. How well do you print, copy, scan, fax? How well do you share? Al Hrabosky, Dan McLaughlin with you. Glad you're with us from Toronto. Cardinals' first ever visit to Rogers Center. First man is on board. That's Zahn. And now here's Orlando Hudson. He's a switch hitter with very good speed. This inning, Carpenter a couple of times has checked with the mound. Hasn't looked real comfortable.
He's landing in an area where it appears maybe he's catching his cleats. Right down there where he lands, and it just throwing him off a little bit, so he goes back and paws at it.
1 ball, 1 strike. We're talking about all-star selections for the Cardinals. Well, back in 1993, Toronto had 8 representatives at the all-star game. That included manager Cito Gaston. And Roberto Alomar, Joe Carter, Pat Henkin. DH was Paul Molitor that year. John Olerud, Dwayne Ward, a pitcher, and Devon White. They had some good players.
Dwayne Ward replaced our good buddy from Jeff City.
About a double play. Grudzielanek to turn, the strong arm at second base.
Tom Henke, Dwayne Ward was his setup man, and then when Henke left, he became the closer.
Good turn here by Grudzielanek.
72nd double play the Cardinals have turned this year. They've hit into only 52, and that's if you walk a man, that's how you race him.
6-4-3 double play.
Perfect throw to Eckstein, right there, chest high, leading Grudzielanek.
Brings in Russ Adams, shortstop, hitting .231. Good curveball from Carpenter. That was sharp. 0-2. Of course, Toronto won the World Series back in '92 and '93. Joe Carter walk-off home run against Wild Thing Williams here in Toronto. They said that the fans have not come back after the labor dispute of 1994. As that chop towards Grudzielanek, he'll take it over to Pujols. After the leadoff walk, Carpenter gets the double play and the ground out. Taguchi, Molina, and Eckstein coming up. 3-zip St. Louis. So Taguchi to lead things off for the Birds. Top of the 4th. Taguchi with a liner up the middle. His first time up, he's 1 for 1. Taguchi, Molina, and Eckstein for the Cardinals, leading 3-0.
Cardinals are 14-6 when So starts a game. And he's batting just under .270 in his 21 starts.
Jammed here a little bit, hit towards second off the dirt, and it's a hit for So Taguchi.
What was
Not
that?
even an attempt by Orlando Hudson.
I mean, either he couldn't get the handle on it, or I don't know what he was thinking.
Well, it took kind of, it looked like an odd bounce as it hit
the
dirt, but he didn't even throw it towards the first.
No, he had plenty of time. Look at right here. Now he comes around here, gets it, and watch. Okay, what? Brain cramp.
Hey, you're right. I think he just wasn't even thinking.
Yeah.
So it's a hit for So Taguchi. He's 2 for 2. Here's Molina.
Hit and run on, but fouls it.
Take another look at that play by Orlando Hudson.
Yeah, I have no idea what he thought. He started to get in position, but just very casual, and then
looked like he was getting ready to even just throw it back to the pitcher at first. Then he realized Taguchi was running down the line.
I guess he thought he was still infield practice. One of the coaches hitting him fungos. But that was strange. And it appeared that he had a good grip on it.
Cardinals have had base runners in each inning. Lead it 3-0. Home runs tonight by Larry Walker and Reggie Sanders. Yadier Molina with his 54th start of the season tonight. Last time we saw Arnaud Diaz was in Colorado.
This is Yadier's 11th straight game and his 20th out of the last 21 games that he has started. Young legs. Hope they last.
22-year-old. 1-1 pitch. Misses outside. 2-1. Of course, he's got brothers in the major leagues. He is the younger brother of Benji and Jose Molina.
This is the type of workhorse that, well, Matheny was outstanding, but this is the way Ted Simmons used to play, and think about it doing on the artificial turf at Busch Stadium and how hot that would get. But he couldn't give up his bat.
Brutal. That turf.
Oh, 140 degrees on a Sunday.
Molina lines it into center field. Vernon Wells makes the catch. He's going to try to go to first with the throw. And Taguchi is back safely. Another hard hit ball by Molina for an out.
I know he's a Gold Glover because he wears a Rawlings glove.
So Taguchi has been busy here in the first 4 innings. He got drilled on a pickoff play at first, and then that slide was a vicious slide. Very aggressive back into the bag at first. Here's David Eckstein. 0 for 2. Grounded back to the pitcher. Fly to center field. Strike one. People forget, we always talk about David in his days with Anaheim, but he originally signed with the Boston Red Sox. Former walk-on at Florida.
Scout that signed him, when they released him, he quit. Called up the Angels and said, hey, you better sign this kid. This kid's special.
Signed by Boston, then purchased off waivers by Anaheim in 2000.
And you've got to love someone that plays with the heart of David Eckstein.
And he shoots this one into right field, and the catch is made. Reed Johnson in right, 2 down, and it brings in Abraham Nunez, who's 2 for 2. Saturday, the phenomenon continues as the future of poker comes to FSN and an all-new weekly tournament with $250,000 up for grabs. It's the premiere of the UltimateBet.net World Poker Challenge Saturday at 11 on FSN Midwest. Fastball misses inside to Nunez. 2 for 2 tonight. Base hit down the third base line. He blooped a hit his second time up. Average at 274. Let's see if they want to start the runner here with a count of 1 ball and no strikes. Good speed over there, and so Taguchi. It's not running, and the pitch is taken for a ball. 2-0. Now with the count in the favor of Nunez. Let's see if he wants to run. 2 balls and no strikes. One of the reasons you might start that runner is that even if he is thrown out, you've got Nunez as a leadoff hitter the next inning. Good leadoff man. 3-1 is the count. Pleasant surprise for the Cardinals this year has been Nunez.
Filled in very well, not only in the clubhouse, but at third base.
That's a ground ball. Knocked down by the second baseman. Comes up with it. Good play by Hudson. So he atones for that miscue to start the inning. Cardinals strand a man. They've let 5 on tonight. We move to the bottom of the 4th. Top of the order that Chris Carpenter will see. Johnson, Catalinato, and Wells coming up. Top of the order for Chris Carpenter to face. Been perfect so far. 3-0 St. Louis. Line into center. Going back is So, and he'll make the play. Took a false step in. That's the hardest one for a center fielder to get to when it's hit right at you. Let's flash back to Chris Carpenter as a member of the Blue Jays. This is back from 2000. Now in his Cardinal career, he's won 23 of his 41 starts, but the Jays opening day starter back in 2002. And as you mentioned, Al, foundation of Carpenter, Escobar, and Halladay was supposed to take this team to the next level. Only one of those 3 remains. Catalinato is 0 for 2.
Now we talked about how they attendance has dwindled here. It's been a long time since they won. But another factor is that it's very expensive.
Quickly 2 outs, and it brings in Vernon Wells. Chris Carpenter has 5 strikeouts tonight. The first man he ever struck out, Paul Molitor, the Hall of Famer. Part of those championship teams that you talked about, 92 and 93 World Series winners. There's a good curveball from Carpenter, and it's 0-2.
I just like the way he gets on the mound. It just controls the pace of play. Get his sign, gets ready.
Curveball, another strikeout. Wells just flicks the bat, throws the helmet, and Chris Carpenter is sharp here tonight. 6 strikeouts in his 4 innings of work. Cardinals lead it 3-0.
You're watching FSN Midwest, where Cardinals fans come first.
Albert Pujols will dig in to start the 5th. The Aflac trivia question tonight. What is the Cardinals team record for the most wins in a month? Good curveball to start this inning to Albert Pujols, who's been on base twice. You would figure that that record may have been set last year as the Cardinals went on to 105 wins. Albert with a liner up the middle. 2 hits tonight.
Inappropriate up the middle. His pitcher is only 5'11". He's advertised as 5'11". I guess Albert's got to lower that sights a little bit, try and drill him after he hit him.
Godin has been working from the stretch primarily all night long. Base runners have been on every inning. Larry Walker is homered tonight. A 2-run shot back in the first. He's also walked.
3rd time through the order here in the 5th inning, and see if they can't do some more damage. Ooh.
Just like most kids that grow up here in Canada, he had visions of playing in the National Hockey League. He was cut by the Regina Pats, a junior A team, and Larry was the 3rd string goaltender. And hockey was done, and baseball worked out pretty well for Larry. Back in 1998, he received the Lou Marsh Award, which is given to Canada's top athlete after he won the MVP in '97. Very prestigious honor.
They also have an award for the best Canadian baseball player. The Tip O'Neill Award. James Tip O'Neill, and he's won that 9 times.
Deep into right field, Larry Walker with his 2nd home run. Way out of here. His 2nd 2-run home run tonight. 5-0. 4 RBIs for Walker.
2 for 2. He also walked. As I said, he's won that 9-time winner of the James Tip O'Neill Award, presented annually by the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. He was 0 for 10 in 4 career games played here at the Sky Dome / Rogers Center. No longer can you say that, as he has 2 home runs tonight, 2 run shots. 9 times.
Deep into right field, Larry Walker with his 2nd home run. Special night here for Larry Walker, no doubt about it. What very well could be his final time playing professional baseball in Canada in this series.
Then you have a night like this and you say, oh, I was just kidding.
Yeah, maybe I will be that DH, or maybe I'll come back one more year. Why not?
Well, let's go ahead and have the Cardinals win the World Championship, and then see if he'll stick to that game plan of retiring them. He had so much fun last season, rejuvenating his career, playing with the Cardinals and his teammates. He wanted to come back for more this year.
What's interesting tonight, he's the designated hitter for the Cardinals, and he's talked about that being a very difficult spot for him, being a DH. Just trying to stay loose and stay in the game, and learning how to do that as opposed to playing every inning. when you have to go out to right field.
Well, yeah, there's some guys can adapt to it, others can't. But if it is your full-time job, you find some way to occupy your time, whether it's going down the cages, swinging off a tee.
And it's 3-1 on Reggie, who was homered here tonight as well.
But if he was committed to it, I'm sure he'd find a way to do it. Problem is yeah, one time he was a very good weapon as a defensive player, a 7-time Gold Glove winner, still very smart and intelligent.
Well, he's getting a different reception here north of the border in Toronto as opposed to when he used to go back to Montreal. Started his career with the Expos and then signed as a free agent to go to Colorado. And Larry would be the first to tell you that Expos didn't even make an offer to try to sign him. They knew they weren't going to be able to come close. But he used to get booed big time back in Montreal.
But that type of boo is almost a compliment.
Full count on Reggie. Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 4 tonight. And Reggie's 1 for 3. First out here in the top of the 5th. Brings in Mark Grizzolonic, 0 for 2. Grounded to second and struck out with the bases loaded. Here are the Cardinals. You got to feel pretty good about this. A 5-run lead. But the way that Chris Carpenter's throwing, the sharpest we have seen him all season long.
Been times that he's been very good shutting out the opposition, and then in one bad inning.
Grizzolonic goes down for it and picks up a base hit into center. 10 hits already for the Cardinals, and we're only in the 5th.
That's it for this pitcher.
3 hits in the inning. That's going to be it. We turn to the Aflac trivia question. What is the Cardinals team record for the most wins in a month? 26 wins. July of 1944.
Scott Downs.
We'll step aside. The Cardinals leading by 5 runs here in Toronto. $5-0 Cardinals. 10 hits tonight as we play here in the 5th. New pitcher in. It's Scott Downs, and we're in Toronto. Cardinals and Blue Jays tomorrow at 5:30 with Cardinals tonight. Oh, to see that man on the mound, Jason Marquis for St. Louis. And Jason has been spectacular this year in his second year with the Cardinals. Marquis will be looking for his 9th victory. He's 8-3. He'll go against Ted Lilly, who was an all-star last year for the Blue Jays. Scott Downs is the new pitcher, a left-hander for Toronto.
A couple years of big league experience. First popped onto the big league scene with the Cubs, played with Montreal, non-roster player who earned a spot.
First pitch right back to him and a double play. Thank you very much. Takes a hit away from Mabry, who hits into a double play. 5-0 St. Louis. Carpenter back to work. Cardinals lead it 5-0. Chris Carpenter has been outstanding so far. He has struck out 6 in 4 innings. Here's Shea Hillenbrand, the cleanup man, and a nasty curveball from Carpenter. And he's got one of the better curveballs in the game of baseball. When it's on, it is very, very effective. And it's been on here tonight.
He's got 4 good pitches that he can neutralize hitters.
And this is a familiar theme as well tonight. Ahead in the count with no balls and 2 strikes.
Controlling the pace of the game. He's got the mannerisms of a guy that's in complete command and control. Getting the sign. Just going out and executing.
.50 pitches, only 16 balls. Count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss, and that's strikeout number 7 for Chris Carpenter. Now we saw in that at bat a curveball and a fastball, and the effectiveness now with that, as you well know, has to be the slot of where the pitch is coming out, and the arm motion for both the fastball and the curveball to stay the same.
Well, it's so important in today's with a video that you come from the same arm slot with all your pitches, so they're not distinguishable. Because it doesn't take long for these big league hitters to see if you have a differential from several inches between your fastball, your breaking ball, changeup, then they know what's coming. They'll watch that video, look for things like that, and like if you drop down like say Tavares and throws sidearm, you better have a fastball and a curveball from that angle that you can just so they can't pick and sit on one pitch.
One and two is the count. And it has to be with the same motion of the arm too. He can't be slowed up at all. Can't be cupping the ball. And everything's got to be the same for the effectiveness. Another strikeout for Carpenter. That is number 8. Here's what we're talking about with Carpenter: the fastball and curveball. This is 2 different deliveries, but yet identical where the arm angle's coming out of. That's great work by the guys in the truck.
Yeah, it really is, and you can see how, you know, it just looks like a mirror image, except one comes at 90, 90 plus. The other one that, the about 11-12 miles an hour differential.
Good work by Brian McCann, showing our folks at home the job of Chris Carpenter tonight. He's perfect so far, just 1 walk, and he has struck out 8. 5-zip St. Louis.
You're watching FSN Midwest, where Cardinals fans come first.
5-0 Cardinals. 10 hits tonight for St. Louis. Chris Carpenter has struck out 8. Our next televised game will be tomorrow night, 5:30 with Cardinals tonight. 6 o'clock the play-by-play coverage. Cardinals and Blue Jays. Scott Downs back to work. He had 1 pitch in relief and got a double play that last inning. And here's So Taguchi, followed by Molina, and then David Eckstein. So is 2 for 2. Starting in center field for the injured Jim Edmonds. So wearing number 99, and here we are in hockey country, and that number has been permanently retired by the National Hockey League. Wayne Gretzky. Backhanded play by the first baseman Hinsky. Downs is covering. Number 42 permanently retired in baseball, matter of Jackie Robinson. But Mariano Rivera, the closer of the Yankees, was wearing that number prior to number 42 being retired, so he's allowed to keep it, but after that, that's it.
Yeah, grandfathered in.
Here's Yadier Molina. Lined out to center his last time. He's also flied to right, 0 for 2. Made a stop by the Hockey Hall of Fame today. See the plaque of our buddy Bernie Federko.
And Bernie is in town, right?
He is in town playing in a golf tournament, charity event. Curveball misses outside, and it's 1-1. Well-deserved induction for Bernie. Be curious to see how the fans here in Toronto and across Canada come back for hockey if and when it comes back, because they have not come back after the work stoppage in '94 with baseball.
I think it's circumstances, as this franchise was used to winning there, and then now they've hit on tough times. Not necessarily committed to winning, or they know that they have no chance to win. And as I said, it's very expensive up here for them to come to baseball games.
Up the middle, good piece of hitting there by Molina. 1 for 3 tonight, 1 out hit. Cardinals with base runners in every inning so far as we play here in the 6th. And it's back to David Eckstein at the top of the order. This one's going to knuckle off the bat of Molina here.
Coming right at you with no rotation. And he's hitting about 320, maybe a little bit more against left-handers this year, Molina.
First pitch, a strike to Eckstein. 0 for 3. He's flied to right, fly to center, and grounded back to the pitcher. Did you ever fool with the knuckleball?
No.
Not even when you're playing catch, nothing like that?
No. Never could throw it. I mean, you know, everybody does it a little bit, but it was useless. The guys that have the best knuckleballs are middle infielders.
They are.
They're the ones that can play with that and come up with it, but then all you tell them is once they start getting brave and they get on the mound, you just tell them there's no screen in front of them. And then there's too busy recoiling trying to prepare themselves for a line drive hit right at them.
1-1 is hit into shallow right field. Long way to go for Reed Johnson, but he'll make the catch. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC.
A couple years ago, Cody McKay was our best pitcher.
That nasty knuckleball.
The nasty knuckleball. But, you know, and it is a mean trick to go up and tell a position player when you get kind of one of those blowout games and you get somebody say, oh, let me pitch, and kind of make it a little light, you know, not with the way Carpenter's pitch. He's not getting turned over to Eckstein or Grizzlonic, but you get one of those infielders that goes out there and then you just tell them. You just remember there's no screen in front of them. And then they realize how close they are. So charging line drives.
Nunez is 2 for 3. Story tonight, the return of Chris Carpenter.
And Walker.
And Larry Walker with 2 hits, 2 home runs, 3 times on base.
Larry's made Carpenter an honorary Canadian. You do your part, I'll do mine.
Three-one pitch. Ball 4. And that's the last thing that Downs wanted to do, because now he's got to face Pujols with 2 runners on. First walk that he is allowed tonight. And it's 1st and 2nd. 2 down for Pujols, who is 2 for 2. He's been hit by a pitch. He scored 2 runs thanks to the pair of home runs by Walker.
Now Albert, 3rd in the National League at both road batting average and night BA. And I'm shocked that he's not hitting more than 263 against left-handers.
Normally he just tears that up. Pujols trying to add to this lead. Roof is closed tonight. Some rain in the area here in Toronto. It takes about 20 minutes to open it up. It's pretty muggy up here. Two balls and no strikes. And a right-hander's getting loose for Toronto.
Justin Spire.
2 balls and a strike on Albert. Talk of both Derek Lee and Albert Pujols going for the Triple Crown. Last person to do it in the National League, Joe Medwick, back in 1937. Pujols pops it foul and out of play.
Medwick, one time, was the baseball coach at St. Louis University.
Is that right?
And when I joined the Cardinal organization, he was the minor league roving hitting instructor.
Last to do it in baseball, 1967, Carl Yastrzemski, the Boston Red Sox.
Derek Lee having a phenomenal year.
Sure is.
Slugging percentage, you know, he's leading in all three categories in the Triple Crown, but slugging percentage.
2-2 pitch, misses inside to Albert, so they're off and running with this next pitch. Full count, 2 down. That's good. You've got Molina running from second base. Nunez at first, and the man on deck swinging a hot bat. That's Larry Walker.
Albert 377 with runners in scoring position, and they'll be running. So pick your poison, Albert or Larry Walker.
The 3-2. Fought off and hit into left field. It'll be taken there by Catalanato. He's got it. Carpenter with 8 strikeouts tonight. Back to work in the bottom of the 6th. Cardinals lead it 5-0. Chris Carpenter has faced the minimum so far. As we move to the bottom of the 6th, he did walk a man. That was Greg Zahn back in the 3rd. That's who he'll start out here in the 6th against, with a curveball that misses up and away. But then Zahn was erased on a double play.
Yeah. Did that leading off the 3rd. Here he is batting in the 6th.
Nunez cheating in at third base, so a hitting lane there. This one is popped into center. Taguchi is there for the first out. This portion of Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack invites you to come in and experience ciabatta. It's all about the bread. And by your local Chrysler Jeep dealers. Chris Carpenter in his return to Toronto. He was 15-5 last year for the Cardinals. Never won more than 12 for the Blue Jays. That's it out of play as Hudson is hit into a double play. From Trinity High School in New Hampshire. He was All-State 3 years in high school in both hockey and baseball. Another good pitch. Foul tip. Strike 2.
I'm sure some of these Blue Jay fans are saying, what if? What if he would have stayed in the organization, healthy and pitching like this, along with Halladay? And then you mentioned Escobar's on the disabled list, but I'm sure at times he's frustrated the Blue Jays.
Strikeout number 9. Tonight's hot pitch of the game, and it's brought to you by Hardee's.
You pick any of these 9 strikeouts, as you see another excellent curveball and a just wide margin between ball and bat.
Here's Russ Adams. Curveball. Ahead in the count again with a strike. I'm telling you what, this is as locked in as we have seen Chris Carpenter in his Cardinal career. 5 2/3, no hits.
They got to look fastball, and then they can't even recover.
That's a fair ball. First hit of the night for Toronto. And it hits the seat down there. The usher sitting in. Over to get it is Mabry. No hitter is gone, but Carpenter allows his first hit and gets a nice round of applause from the fans here in Toronto.
Even that one just a bullet, but just inside the bag. Breaking ball a little bit up and on the inner half, and just turned on by Adams. And Adams, 11 of his last 18 hits have been extra bases.
Back to the top of the order, Reed Johnson. He's lined out and grounded out. So the no-hitter is gone here in the 6th. But he's had no-hit stuff here tonight.
Most definitely.
Carpenter was the 5th overall pick by the Blue Jays back in 1993.
Look at that.
I mean, he's just making major league hitters look foolish right now.
That was like the cutter that he whipped out there that Really hasn't needed today.
Two balls and one strike. 5-0 St. Louis. Cardinals with 3 home runs tonight.
Carpenter's only thrown 66 pitches to this point. 46 strikes, 20 balls.
Tap foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Fourth inning, got by with 5 total pitches. That's hard to do because he had a strikeout out in there also. So 2 first pitch outs and then 3 to strike out a batter.
Struck out 9 here tonight. His second highest total this year. He struck out 12 against Milwaukee in a 6-3 win in 7 2/3 back on April 27th.
Going down trying to protect the shutout.
Hard hit to Eckstein. He stays down on it and makes the play. Carpenter allows his first hit tonight, but he has been dominant with 9 strikeouts and no runs allowed. 5-0 as we head to the 7th. In his return to Canada, big night for Larry Walker. 2 home runs, both 2-run shots. Homers number 6 and 7 tonight. 4 RBIs and 27 now on the season for Larry Walker. Big night for Larry, and he'll lead things off for the Cardinals. 5-0 St. Louis. The other home run by Reggie Sanders as Walker and Sanders went back-to-back in the first. New pitcher is Justin Spire. Teammates in Colorado were Justin Spire and Larry Walker. This will be his 24th appearance. ERA over 4. Opponents hitting .244 against him. Larry Walker had a 3 home run game against Montreal. Late 90s. He did it at Busch Stadium against the Cardinals one night. Hyundai long drive inning sweepstakes. You can register to win. The Cardinals hit a home run in the 7th. You qualify for the grand prize at the end of the season. 2-1 pitch to Walker. 2-2. Larry in the final year of his 6 years, $75 million contract. Move past Terry Poole for games played by a Canadian-born player among the hits and the home runs. But he has amassed, and he strikes out. And good luck tonight to Christine Gass, our merchandise winner in the Hyundai long drive inning sweepstakes.
Chris Spire, well, the son of Chris Spire is Justin. Seen him before. He's a hard thrower. Not bigger than his dad, who was a big league shortstop.
Here's Reggie. 1 for 3, 2 strikeouts and a solo home run. Justin Spire out of the Nichols State University, a 55th round selection.
See?
By Chicago back in 1995. He's bounced around a bit. He's been with the Cubs, the Marlins, Atlanta, Cleveland, the Mets, the Rockies, and now in his 2nd season with Toronto.
His dad was an all-star with the Giants. Did spend a little time with the Cardinals, and now he's on Dusty Baker's staff. in Chicago.
Off of Spire, hit to third, and Sanders is aboard. Let's hope Spire's going to be all right. Says he's fine. That's a base hit for Reggie Sanders.
Got him on the leg. Their trainer's going to come out and check with him just anyway. Reminds me one time his dad reacting to Bob Gibson hitting Dave Rader, the catcher, in the coconut. As you see this line drive right back at him, gets him right behind the knee of the right leg. Says he's okay. See a vicious shot. That's what I talk about, charging a line drive. His motion spins him towards the first base side and got hit, but Dave Rader got hit by Bob Gibson, and Chris Spire lost his head and was yelling and screaming at Gibson out of the Candlestick, and Bob called over Joe Torre from first base and said, "Who's that yelling at me?" He said, "Spire." He said, "Okay." He said, "I don't have my glasses. Who's yelling at me?"
Well, his son is a tough kid. Former Marine. He joined the Marines out of high school. As Grzelcyk hits it out of play and into the seats. Part of the Marine Corps. Military gave Spire an honorable discharge after the Cubs drafted him.
General Hagenbeck, Buster Hagenbeck, three-star general, was in town last weekend, U.S. Army, and then I met the, I believe, second in command of Scott Air Force Base, an Army general who was, I believe, General Bradley.
Ground ball hit to second. The only play for Hudson is to go to first. Grzelcyk retired for the second out.
Both those generals were talking about the great job we did last week talking with the troops. And General Hagenbeck was in Iraq a couple weeks ago, and he said they were all pumped up for what KTBI and FSN Midwest did for the troops in Tikrit.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Oh, it was unbelievable.
John Mabry 0 for 3, playing right field tonight. Larry Walker, the DH. Spire talked about his military service being somewhat similar to that of David Robinson. He was in the Navy and then went to the NBA, and Spire was part of the Marines.
David Robinson went to Annapolis, and I believe he fit in the height requirement when he went into the service, but while he was there, he grew beyond their measurements.
Well, he said he needed discipline coming out of high school, did Spire, so none better than going to the Marine Corps.
You better believe it. That's a tremendous way of life for young men and women if they really need a little direction, or in many cases today you can find a vocation. I'm not saying baseball, but especially the Navy is so oriented to everything is electronic and computer that, you know, the days of just having a high school diploma and getting into service doesn't cut it anymore. You have to pass aptitude tests and intelligence tests to get into many of the services.
Spire started his career as a catcher. When drafted by the Chicago Cubs, always had a very good arm. It's like Felix Rodriguez, same thing. He was a catcher.
And it's kind of similar bodies, but Spire a little more filled out.
Hit that high leg kick and the delivery towards the plate as Mabry calls time.
Justin looks like he still runs the infiltration course every day.
Mabry chases a ball and hits it upstairs towards the upper deck. Speaking of the upper deck, Jose Canseco hit one of the longest home runs in the history of this ballpark, and it happened against Tony La Russa's Oakland A's in the League Championship Series. Into the upper deck. It was down the left field line. He hit it about 5-6 rows deep as Mabry strikes out. And it's time to stretch. Carpenter tossing a gem with 9 strikeouts and only 1 hit allowed. Well, you purchase a bottle of Fab laundry detergent and a package of softener at participating Schnucks stores and enter to win the fabulous seat promotion. First 300 mail-ins receive a $5 Schnucks gift card with that promotion. 5-0 Cardinals over the Blue Jays. A one-hitter being tossed by Chris Carpenter tonight. Frank Catalanato, Vernon Wells, and Shea Hillenbrand, the batters for Toronto in this inning. That's down the right field line and hooking foul. Catalanato is struck out and flied out to left. Can't say enough about the job of Chris Carpenter here tonight.
You know, we were talking about Halladay last night and how tough he was, and he was outstanding. Carpenter's been even better.
Got him. That's 10 strikeouts tonight for Chris Carpenter. If you'd like to win Cardinals tickets and participate in the Southwest Airlines Family of the Game promotion during a Cardinals home game, here's your chance. Send your name, address, and phone number to Southwest Airlines Family of the Game, P.O. Box 771192, St. Louis, Missouri 63177. Good luck from Southwest Airlines. Vernon Wells has been lost up there against Chris Carpenter. He's struck out twice, 0 for 2.
3, 4, and 5. And now 2 also struck out 2 times.
Hit sharply to Nunez. Long throw to Pujols with the stretch at first. 2 down. In his last start, it was against Boston. 3 runs, 8 hits Wednesday night. And Dave Duncan said that he saw something positive coming out of the bullpen work with Chris Carpenter coming into this start, and it has paid off.
Well, Duncan gives him a way to retire every hitter, but can you execute that game plan? And tonight, you know, Carpenter's executed and some. Very efficient with his pitch count, especially for striking out as many as he has.
Been throwing in the mid-90s all night long. 1 ball, 1 strike.
77 pitches to this point. Better than a 2-to-1 strike to ball ratio, and 77 pitches with 10 strikeouts. I mean, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And he's walked 1 man tonight.
One and 2.
Hillenbrand was 8 for 17 before tonight. And you see the cutter, old-fashioned slider.
And it's hit to Pujols, who has to backhand it. Carpenter covering it first. Chris Carpenter dominant tonight with 10 strikeouts, 1 hit allowed as we move to the 8th. It'll be Sho Taguchi, Yadier Molina, and David Eckstein coming up. Cardinals lead it 5-0.
Watching FSN Midwest, where Cardinals fans come first.
Cardinal fans get in-game alerts, scores, breaking news, and more. Your mobile phone for $3.99 a month. Text the word cards to 65246 or MLB Go, and charges will appear on your mobile phone bill.
Scott Schoenweiss appearing for the 29th time. He's the leader in appearances for the Blue Jays. 2-2 record, high ERA. And right-handed batters have been hitting .343 against him, lefties .227.
First pitch is hitting foul territory, and it finds the seats out of play. So playing center field tonight, if you joined us late, Jim Edmonds scratched once again with a rib injury. Saw Sean Weiss in the ball game last night warming up, but never came in.
There's Jimmy, and might be a couple more days before he's out, but
popped up again, foul territory, taken by Eric Hinsky for the first out.
Sean Weiss and Edmonds were teammates in Anaheim. Saw them conversing before the game.
Chris Carpenter, the story tonight, just one over the minimum. Had a walk back in the third, but that was erased on a double play. And with 2 outs in the 6th, there was a base hit by the number 9 man in the order, Russ Adams, a 2-out hit. Molina into deep right center field. Wells going back, and he is smooth out there. We don't hear much about Vernon Wells, but he was a Gold Glover last year in the American League in center. He just glided back to that.
Glides back and kind of Willie Mays style a little bit, basket catch in a sense. I'll give him style points, but don't drop it.
And here's David Eckstein. 2 outs, nobody on. David is 0 for 4. Eckstein, a great story, the youngest of 5 kids. He's got 3 of his brothers and sisters that have all required kidney transplants, as the family suffers from a hereditary disease that destroys kidney function. He's done a lot to help raise awareness and raise money for that. His dad as well has had that problem. As David is going to go 0 for 5 tonight. A 1-2-3 inning by Sean Weiss. It'll be Hinsky, Hill, and Greg Zahn coming up against Carpenter. Five to nothing. 12 hits for the Cardinals tonight. Just 1 hit allowed by Chris Carpenter, who pitched for the Blue Jays from 1997 to 2002. Facing his former team for the first time tonight, and it's been that pitch to me, Al, that's just been remarkable. The great curveball he's had this evening.
You almost wonder why somebody didn't go up there the first time and look for it. The get ahead curveball, but he's got a good enough fastball that if you're looking curveball and he throws you the fastball, you won't catch up to it. He's got the changeup. He's got a cutter.
1 ball, 1 strike on Eric Hinsky.
Here's a changeup out in front.
Taken by Grizzolonic, who charges. That's out number 1 as we start play here in the bottom of the 8th. He's the story tonight. This is our Bank of America recap, the official Bank of Baseball. Chris Carpenter facing the Toronto Blue Jays. Their former first-round pick. They let him go in 2002. A little extra here tonight for Carpenter, who was struck out 10. He's faced 1 over the minimum.
I think he was prepared for this start.
Well, there's no doubt watching him pitch here tonight.
And it looks like he hadn't broke a sweat yet.
You have talked about a couple of times here tonight the pace of the game, and yet we haven't seen any of these Toronto hitters step out, maybe try to call time if he's in a windup, just anything to disrupt the rhythm that he's in.
Very good point. They're allowing him to set the pace, and he's doing it all in his aggressive mode. And these hitters are just falling prey to him.
0-2 pitch to Aaron Hill. On a curveball, it's hit to short. Eckstein will take it. 2 outs. You know, for Chris Carpenter, what's going through his mind here tonight? A team that gave up on him essentially.
Well, see, I mean, it's like adrenaline and extra incentives are great if you can channel it, that energy, and use it for something positive to seek revenge. But if you just go out there as a madman, then you're useless. And you got the adrenaline surge, but it's it's not focused. He is very focused on what his job is and his assignment, and he's making a statement.
1-0 pitch to Grzelcyk. 3 up, 3 down here in the 8th inning. Carpenter sailing through this one. 5-0 as we head to the 9th. What's been talked about for weeks, and now it's official. Chris Myers will sit down with new Lakers coach Phil Jackson. An exclusive interview this weekend on FSN. Chris Myers and Phil Jackson. It'll be Sunday afternoon. 9th inning, and the 5th different pitcher we've seen for Toronto, Miguel Bautista. And Chris Carpenter, the story on the other side. Bautista, this will be his 27th appearance. Record of 3-0. Opponents hitting just .216 against him. He's been a starter in his career, now working out of the bullpen for the Blue Jays. And this is the Bautista that was with Arizona for a few years ago.
Yeah.
Tino Martinez and Bautista got into it.
Yeah, pretty efficient as a starter at that time, but now he is the closer for Toronto Blue Jays. He made a nice conversion. He's closed 11 out of 12.
Is there any doubt that Chris Carpenter had no hit stuff here tonight?
No doubt.
Nunez, first pitch he sees, lined up the middle for a base hit.
His 3rd hit of the game, and he's also walked once. As I said, last night we were so impressed with the Blue Jays starter, Doc Halladay, but today Carpenter's been even better than Halladay was, and he was very, very impressive, picking up his 10th win. Carpenter's looking for number 9.
Bautista and Albert Pujols here, with Nunez the runner at first. Last Cardinal no-hitter, Bud Smith. Prior to that, it was Jose Jimenez.
Blue Jays fan, but Pujols is the man.
Interesting defense here. 5-run lead. Not insurmountable, but 5 runs, and they play behind that runner at first. Why not take the base? I just never have understood that. If they're going to give you second base and you can avoid a force play or maybe a double play, why not take it? And I don't think it's running up and rubbing it in somebody's face when it's only 5 runs.
No, they're the ones choosing to do it.
Right. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's basically just saying, well, this game's over.
But I think you have to say is, Tony La Russa is not ever going to miss an opportunity. So but I'm almost got to guarantee you that he's telling Nunez not to run, or he would be at second already.
Pujols fouls it back on a 2-1 pitch. There's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Albert tonight, pair of base hits, 2 runs scored.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Albert was hit 1 time in this game, and all the old rules, we kind of throw them out because we've seen too many times teams, when the Cardinals did to Cincinnati, come from behind. 7 runs in the 9th inning against a closer. And you just wonder if, has McKay told Nunez not to go, or does Tony say that?
Not running on this pitch, and this one is hammered into deep right field. Has a chance to get out. Goodbye. Albert's gone deep. Ray King with a good play out there in the bullpen. Albert Pujols, 3 hits tonight. Way to go, Ray.
Well, we said don't wake him up. They hit him the first time, and then a single, now a 2-run home run, 3 runs scored, and there's a slider that just stayed right up in the middle of the plate, and he just hammered it into the bullpen, and Ray King barehanded it.
Makes me nervous. Get a glove on, Ray. Don't break that hand, man.
You know what? We know how to do those things, but you're right. If you do end up breaking a finger or something like that, it's kind of hard to explain it.
This guy's had a big night. Larry Walker with 2 2-run homers.
We'll just blame it on Marty Mason. Marty's supposed to keep those guys under control.
You wonder if you go back to that first inning. Albert Pujols was hit by a pitch, and then all of a sudden the Cardinals offense just exploded after that. With 2 outs, Pujols was hit, and Walker delivered a 2-run shot, and Sanders went back-to-back. Little ground ball hit to second. Tough play here. The scoop, and safe at first is Larry Walker.
Second baseman played way back, tried to come in and shovel pass, and Larry running hard, his 3rd hit of the day. A pair of 2-run home runs, now an infield single and a walk.
Cardinal Baseball, the production of Bud Sports, and an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. Walker can still run a little bit down that line, even at the age of 38.
And you know what? That's why you're just overly impressed with this team is so relentless. They just keep on showing you why they are so good.
Skip Schumacher is the hitter. Made his first major league start last night in center. Now up by 7 runs. Walker definitely will not be running. Schumacher's a guy that can play all 3 outfield positions. He was the everyday center fielder for Memphis. Falls behind here, 0-2. Still nobody out here in the top of the 9th. 7-0 Cardinals. And a swing and a miss. Batista, his first strikeout. And with 1 out here in the top of the 9th, let's check in with Brent Stover and get a preview of what's coming up later on FSN.
Thanks, guys. Coming up right after the game on MSR, a live player interview with the star of the game. Plus, we'll preview this week's U.S. Open. That and more, but now back to Dan and Al. Guys?
So Schumacher was the pinch hitter for Reggie Sanders, and now Scott Seabold is going to pinch hit for Mark Grudzielanek. So Seabold, we presume, will stay in the game, play 3rd. Nunez will move from 3rd to 2nd.
And Schumacher will stay in the game, play left field for Sanders.
Broken bat hit the 3rd. That's 1. Can they turn 2? No, they can't. The ball gets away, and Seabold will advance. A low throw on the turn by Orlando Hudson. Fielder's choice, and then an error on Orlando.
His 4th error, 2nd Blue Jay error of the night.
Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest has been brought to you by Smooth Bush Beer and easy drinking Bush Light. Here's John Mabry. First pitch fouled back. Mabry struck out twice. Lined into a double play and grounded out with the bases loaded back in the 3rd. But the story tonight, well, really a couple of stories. Larry Walker and Chris Carpenter. Dave McKay hops over that grounder at first. Hold foul, 0-2 the count. Mabry hitting .255.
Thought we'd see a little different game. As they say, this Blue Jays team rises to the occasion when their ace is on the mound, but then they come back down to earth when a subsequent starter is there.
Strikeout for Batista. His second this inning. Carpenter will try to close it out. 7-0. The Redbirds. Well, we told you earlier that Chris Myers will sit down with Phil Jackson, the new head coach of the LA Lakers. Well, we're going to show you a little bit ahead of time. It's supposed to air on Sunday. They're going to advance that tomorrow at 5. Phil Jackson with Chris Myers, who signed a 3-year deal. Be the head coach of the Lakers after his contentious relationship with Kobe Bryant. Broke them up a year ago. He's back. And so is Chris Carpenter here in the ninth, trying to close it out. 7-0 St. Louis here in the ninth inning. Scott Seabold stays in the ball game to play second base. Skip Schumacher stays in as well. He'll play left field. 1 ball, 1 strike on Orlando Hudson. He's grounded into a double play and struck out swinging. A 1-hit shutout so far for Carpenter.
There have been 18 one-hitters in Cardinal history. The last one by Vicente Palacios. I remember that one. That was July 19th, 1994 at Houston. That lone hit was by Andujar Cedeno, a single. And a double here at the bat of Adams is the only blemish from Carpenter tonight.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Third ball bounced in the dirt. 2-2. The only hit tonight, the man on deck, Russ Adams. That was back in the 6th inning with 2 outs. 2-2 pitch from Carpenter. Curveball, and Hudson just got a piece.
Had a chance to finish this game 1 over the minimum. Batters seen.
He has had 1 complete game this year. That was against Chicago, a 4-0 win back on April 21st. 2-2 pitch. Back to Carpenter, and he's got it. That's out number 1 to start play here in the bottom of the ninth. Chris Carpenter mixing in the fastball and the curveball all night long, and he did so in this at bat.
Fastball, balls behind, then he gets one here at foul it, trying to pull an outside pitch. Same thing right there. And a good breaking ball inside. Another one inside. And then fastball just right over the middle, but Carpenter's there to stab it.
Adams lines it into right field. Coming on to make the play, John Mabry. And at least that 1 hit was legitimate too. It wasn't even a questionable hit. It was a hard hit ball past first.
And it's just right inside the first base line. Double into the right field corner. It is the one thing, you know, when you give up a 1 hit, you hope it is a legitimate one. Big night for Walker. Big night for the Cardinals.
The return of Chris Carpenter to Toronto. Weak ground ball. Hit to third. Carpenter, a shutout, a 1-hitter. His second complete game, 7-0 in his return to Toronto. What a night for Chris Carpenter.
Doesn't get any better than that. 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. You know, very efficient with his pitch count and a dominant performance.
Bases 1 over the minimum. He strikes out 10. This is our Bud Light play of the game, and we're going to take you back to the first inning. And a strikeout, Frank Catalanato. After that, he would strike out 4 more in a row and 10 in this game. A big night for Carpenter. We'll be back with more in a moment. 15 hits, a 1-hit shutout, 7-zip St. Louis. 15-hit attack tonight for St. Louis. Cardinals win it 7-0 over the Blue Jays. The return for Chris Carpenter against his former team faces 1 over the minimum, a 1-hit shutout, and it's the 19th 1-hitter in St. Louis Cardinals history. That's the only hit tonight. That was with 2 outs back in the 6th by Russ Adams. And on the final out, the emotion of Chris Carpenter going against the franchise that originally drafted him. He shuts him out tonight. Midwest Sports Report comes your way next.
It's time to take you back to Rogers Center in Toronto.
Jim Hayes, Dan McLaughlin, and Al Roboski are standing by at the scene. It's brought to you by Ace Mortgage.
What can you say about Chris Carpenter, a one-hitter tonight? Looked like everything was working for you. Is that the way it felt?
Yeah, I felt like I was making good pitches all night long. Kept the ball down in the zone, kept it off balance. My cutter was good, my curveball was good, my sinker was down in the strike zone, and got some nice plays defensively, got some runs early. It was nice.
First appearance against your old team, does that make it more special for you, honestly?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I have no regrets about what happened, what was going on here. Just made decisions to go somewhere else, and they made decisions to part ways. It was nothing big. It was just a decision that worked out great for me and great for St. Louis. I enjoyed being there.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Guys, let's send it to you.
All right, Jim, thank you. It was Roy Halladay yesterday for Toronto. He was unbelievable, and tonight, without question, the best start we have seen Chris Carpenter make in a Cardinal uniform.
Doesn't get much better than a one-hitter, but it was even beyond that because he was just so dominant. As he said, he had every pitch working in his arsenal, and he executed a game plan flawlessly. Just one hit allowed, 10-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and he really was economical with his pitches. It was just a masterful performance.
10 strikeouts, as you mentioned. The one hit by Russ Adams with 2 outs back in the 6th. That was a legitimate hit with the no-hitter on the line back then, but he said it right there that there was nothing extra special tonight. But human nature to tell you, coming back and facing a team that decided to say goodbye back in 2002 to him, I'm sure it is a little extra special.
Well, you know, you try to go out there and find different reasons to motivate yourself or get yourself up to kind of, beat the opposition. And I'm sure that this is the organization he started with. This is the organization when he got hurt, kind of, in a sense, turned their back on him. And as he said, he parted ways. It's been very well for him coming to St. Louis, and he's got a new 2-year extension, and he definitely has earned it.
Well, we've talked about this, too. Very well could be the final visit for Larry Walker as a player here in Canada. Big night for him with a pair of 2-run homers.
Yeah, he had played 4 previous games here in this stadium, and he was 0 for 10. I think he showed the Canadians what he's all about. He's the most prolific Canadian baseball player ever, and he put on a show.
Well, the Cardinals will send right-hander Jason Marquis to the mound tomorrow. We'll come your way at 5:30 with Cardinals tonight, and we send it back to the studio.
Date on that game. Cardinals and Blue Jays. Chris Carpenter returning to Toronto for the first time as a Cardinal, and boy, was he in control. Gets Frank Catalanato on a check swing. Vernon's got prospects, but Vernon Wells not bona fide. In the second inning, Carpenter dealing to Shea Hillenbrand, no chance. And Eric Hensky would become his 4th straight strikeout, and then Aaron Hill would become his 5th after this. What did Carpenter have working here?
Well, he had everything working. He had the breaking ball going, a little two-seam fastball, running it away from the lefties, as you see right there, to look like the O-Dog.
It was indeed Orlando Hudson. Carpenter, no-hitter through 3.
He has a great defense behind him, and he uses it.
Use a little offense. Already up 3-0 in the 5th. Larry Walker with a man aboard. A 2-run job.
That may keep him from talking about retiring another day.
And that's clearly Canadian.
On legs, too.
The second of the game, Cardinals up 5-0, and Carpenter in the 6th with that no-hitter intact gets the O-Dog again. 2 outs in the inning. Next man is Russ Adams. Adams run down the right field line for the double. That breaks up the no-hitter. The other flirting with no-hitters that we saw on this night with Mussina and Wells also broken up with 2 outs in an inning.
And Carpenter both lost them on balls hit over first base.
That's true. We continue to pull the thread together. Albert Pujols with a man aboard with some more cushion. His 16th home run makes it 7-0 St. Louis. Carpenter, 2 outs, trying to finish off the one-hitter, and he gets Reed Johnson to ground out to third. Carpenter throws the shutout, walked only 1 guy, and struck out 10. Cardinals beat the Blue Jays 7-0. Carpenter wins his 9th game of the season with a splendid return to Toronto. Of course, he was a Blue Jay, had some arm trouble, wound up with the Cardinals, and is playing quite well. Well, the late